Blog Talk Radio.
Did you know that elders and others are losing their rights to liberty and property? Anyone can petition a court to have a person deemed incapacitated. What if that person is you? The adult guardianship system was created to protect incompetent people and their assets. A court-appointed guardian, sometimes a total stranger, can force you into a nursing home and sell your home to pay for services. Treasured belongings can disappear as you are drugged and isolated from loved ones. Why does this happen? Unfortunately, the courts don't have the funding to supervise and audit cases. A guardian makes all decisions on your behalf, taking control of your assets with little accountability. The potential for abuse is frightening. Luckily, not all guardians exploit those under their care, but when they do, there's really nowhere to go for help. The National Association to Stop Guardian Abuse, NASGA, is working to reform adult guardianship to return it to its once noble purpose of protecting the human rights to life, liberty, and property and ending financial exploitation of assets. Are you or your loved ones protected? To learn more, visit stopguardianabuse.org.
Anyone charged with a criminal matter has the right to have their case heard before a judge or judicial officer of the court is entitled to a fair and public hearing by a competent, independent, and impartial court. Have strict court rules enforced, such as the right of reply, rules of evidence, and be found innocent or guilty beyond reasonable doubt. Yet, our most vulnerable can have their rights, assets, and decision-making rights removed by a public servant of the state, not a judge, in a tribunal setting that can ignore evidence and facts and determine matters as they see fit and conclude matters based on probabilities alone. Are you scared yet?
Well, are you scared yet? Good evening, everyone. This is Marti Oakley of the PPJ Gazette Online. This is the TS Radio Network. These shows are brought to you in coordination with Marcel Reed and the Whistleblower Summit, taking place every July in Washington, D.C. This year, the summit will be held via video due to the faked up COVID virus thing where they don't want us anywhere near each other. And
all right, that was the start of the summit. So we're on the panel. I'm Mary Whitten.
I'm Marsha Joiner.
I'm Coz Skaife. And we have Marti Oakley with us.
Yep.
I'm having some technical difficulties.
Yes. We're about amateurs doing this.
But she's here.
We do host. We are host on TS Radio, and Marti Oakley lets us do our shows however we want to do them, and she is supportive in the background, never stepping in the foreground unless we need help. So we're very grateful for Marti to give us the opportunity to discuss topics that people don't want to talk about, and they don't want us talking about it, but we do. Right, Coz?
Yes, we do. Marti and I talk about, our show is In the Mix every Friday on TS Radio. We've been doing it for about a year and a half, and it's been wonderful. And we have between 75,000 and 100,000 listeners worldwide. And our topic is always guardianship.
And speaking of guardianship, I guess we'll go into the presentation that Shenanigans in the Montgomery County Courthouse is allowing us to show. Let me open that one up. So this presentation is an overview on fraudulent guardianships, which in general will involve a court-appointed professional guardian. So in this presentation, we're going to answer several questions. The first one is, how do citizens get ensnared in the Montgomery County, Pennsylvania courts? Next are, how are doctors used in court proceedings to deem citizens incapacitated? In Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, do you have to be incapacitated to be assigned a professional guardian? Do the guardians of the estate have to submit comprehensive financial reports to the courts to prove the ward's assets are being utilized appropriately? Is there any oversight in the amount a court-appointed guardians can charge to an incapacitated person's estate? Do court-appointed guardians always have the best interest of their wards? Can creating power of attorney documents save citizens from guardianship abuse in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania? And can implementing a trust protect a person from being a financial victim of guardianship abuse? And of course, it's more than a financial victim. You're also, abused physically too, and emotionally. So the first topic is, how do citizens get ensnared in the Montgomery County, Pennsylvania courts? So there are several avenues. One of them is through Montgomery County's Aging and Adult Services. Second is the senior citizen's place of residence. For example, if they're in an assisted living facility or a nursing home or something. Random attorneys will go ahead and deem people incapacitated. They don't have to know, the family or friends or anything. Family members or friends can unwittingly get their loved ones ensnared into the Montgomery County courthouse. And the up-and-coming predicted fraud will be bank institutions ensnaring people in the Montgomery County courts. So the first, and these are real documents from Montgomery County that are being shown. And the first question was, how do citizens get ensnared in the Montgomery County, Pennsylvania courts? So in this slide from Real Court Records, it shows that attorney Robert Slutsky petitioned the courts representing Montgomery County's Aging and Adult Services here and request that Kalpana Dushi be the fee-based guardian of the estate for Marietta in December of 2010. So then subsequently, Kalpana Dushi, the same person who Robert Slutsky recommended to be the fee-based guardian up here, now her attorney that's representing her now is Robert Slutsky, the same one that was representing Montgomery County Aging and Adult Services. So Kalpana Dushi, the fee-based guardian, turns around and uses Robert Slutsky as her attorney in petitions regarding Marietta in April of 2011, March of 2012, and April of 2012. So how is that not a conflict of interest to have the attorney that's representing Aging and Adult Services make money off the very person that they're going to be requesting get a professional guardian? So Marietta is paying the bill of Robert Slutsky, who supposedly is representing Montgomery County's Aging and Adult Services, and she's paying the bill of the court-appointed fee-based guardian, Kalpana Dushi. In this example, Renee Ackerman claims that Nancy, who was one of her residents, needed a guardian. And part of the reasons that she claimed that Nancy needed a guardian was because she kept breaking back into the house. So that house is Nancy's house that she lived in for 50 years. And then the second reason that she wants to have her guardianized is because Nancy owes the assisted living facility $22,728. So, so right here, see, it says, well, actually two things. So let's read this question. What concerns you enough that ultimately you filed or contacted me to file this guardianship? Renee Ackerman says two things. One, she kept breaking into the house. Two, she owed them money. So how is that, what does that have to do with being incompetent and not being able to make decisions for yourself? Doesn't sound like it to me. And also at the end here, to note that although Renee Ackerman wants to have Nancy deemed incapacitated, Nancy corrects Ackerman as to the amount of money she has paid their office. So here it says, I believe now she has given our business office manager $250. And Nancy corrects her and says $50. And then Ackerman says $50. I stand corrected. She owes us $22,728 as of today. So here they want to deem someone incapacitated that even knows how much money they had already given the place of residence. Any comments from the other panel members?
I want to know, is Robert Slutsky also getting paid by the taxpayers of Montgomery County?
That's a good question. I would want to know that too. I think the FBI should investigate to see how, is he double dipping?
If he represents them, he represents them, then he probably is getting paid by the taxpayers.
You would think.
And also, yeah.
Wow. He has a contract with the city. But he has also not had contracts with the city and also represented aging and adult services when he wasn't under contract. That's what he did to recall Elko.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The Holocaust survivor that had to relive his childhood and his adulthood. All right, next slide. How are doctors used in court proceedings to deem citizens incapacitated? So now this Dr. Kenneth Carroll, he is routinely appointed in Montgomery County to be the doctor that evaluates the citizens, because for some reason, the citizens of Montgomery County aren't allowed to pick the doctor that evaluates them and can't just have their regular doctor who knows them evaluate them. Instead, they have to have someone from the court evaluate them that is chosen for them. So in this case, this Dr. Kenneth Carroll says that when they do the mini mental status exam where the maximum is 30, he says 30, but that's not a parametric measure. 30 is the norm. So he's saying 100% on this exam, because 30 is the highest point, is the norm. And he says most people score 30. Anything below that is an indication of cognitive impairment. So that is not true. If you look on Wikipedia and you read about these mini status exams, there are questions like, what's today's date? What day of the week is it? Like, could you know what today's date is all the time? Don't you sometimes have to check your phone? So apparently you're cognitively impaired, according to Dr. Kenneth Carroll. You are cognitively impaired if you don't know what the date is, every day and every moment. So according to Wikipedia, anything from 24 to 30 is considered normal. But I guess if you want to deem someone incapacitated and you're going to be the doctor that's hired, then go ahead and put on the record that 30 is what is normal. And if you're below 30, then you're incapacitated or you have cognitive impairment.
How convenient.
Yes, how convenient. And then you didn't even get to pick that doctor. It was picked for you by someone like Judge Ott or Judge Lois Murphy. So here's another example of a doctor that was forced upon a citizen of Montgomery County. His name is Dr. Robert Pearlstein. And this is for Elko, when Elko was given the mini mental status exam. And what Dr. Pearlstein says, he says, where is it? He knew how to answer all the questions and he answered them appropriately, which unfortunately, when administering a test such as the mini mental status, it's easy for a very intelligent person, and especially if they've been tested before, to kind of beat the test or really anticipate some of the questions asked. So apparently you can pass the test, but then you can have a doctor that was forced upon you by the Montgomery County courts to say, well, you just beat the test. you really didn't deserve to pass.
That would make me think someone was pretty smart if they knew how to beat a test.
I would think so too. Because, you know, isn't that the point? If you're going to take a test, you want to study up for it.
Or what
Now,
if you're just irritated that they're asking you questions like, what is this in my hand? And it's a pen or a pencil. Then the person might just be totally irritated and, you know, give some kind of a smart aleck answer.
Exactly.
And that can be used against them.
That can be used against you. And also, if some people get test anxiety. So I've known people who can pass a test. Like if you talk to them when it's not test time, they know the topic. But all of a sudden when you're getting tested and you get anxiety, and can you imagine that you might be a little anxious if you think that your freedom's gonna go away if you don't pass this test? That might give some people a little test anxiety. So I question that anyway. You know, it seems like someone who knows you, perhaps your regular doctor who's seen you year after year after year, would be better equipped at evaluating what your mental status is because they've known you for a long time. But instead you're getting forced with these court-appointed doctors.
And it's always the same doctors, it seems, doesn't it?
Yes, it does seem they have a handful that they choose from.
Yeah.
And of course, these doctors get paid out of the person who's incapacitated estate. But if they don't have any money, then the Montgomery County is paying the money. When I'm sure these people have insurance, so if you just go to a regular doctor that's in your plan, it wouldn't cost any money. But they might not say what Judge Ott or Judge Lois Murphy wants them to say. So it has to be a doctor of their choosing.
How convenient.
Yes, how convenient. So the next question is, in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, do you have to be incapacitated to be signed a professional guardian? So this is Renee Ackerman again, who wants to deem Nancy incapacitated. And she states that actually she's fairly independent. She comes and goes, she drives a car, she takes care of herself. We do, as I said, we supply her with meals. So does someone who comes and goes as they please and can drive a car and can take care of herself, why should she have a guardian? It doesn't make any sense. And this is in the court records. It's so blatant that it's corruption to me, in my opinion. Which, by the way, everything said on this video is our opinion. All right. Next one. In Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, oh, this is the same question. So in this case, Dr. Paul Moyer, he's another one that's applied quite a bit. He states that it's a stretch to call Nancy incapacitated, but she still may need a guardian. So this is another doctor for Nancy. She, you know, they just keep throwing one doctor after another that she didn't get to pick.
How convenient.
How convenient. So in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, do you have to be incapacitated to be, oh, this is amateur hour. This is another slide about the same topic. All right, so this is, her name is Linda. Linda inherited a lot of money from her father. She had her house paid off and everything. So how convenient for Montgomery County's Age and Adult Services to want to swoop in and help Linda out. So Linda was deemed independent or incapacitated. But when you look at Kalpanadoshi's court record, and it says the incapacitated person's residence is, and it has all these different places. So they moved her out of her house. They forced her out of her house so they, of course, could sell it and pay themselves to sell it. And I'm sure they sold it under market value. But it says that she's in an independent living apartment. So how can someone deemed incapacitated be put into an independent living apartment? Doesn't that mean that you can live independently? Why do you need someone looking out for you in this case? Is it because she has money in a house that's not paid off? Or I mean a house that's paid off that they can charge service fees to to take that money for their services. So, were you gonna say something?
I just said, yes, how convenient that they can make money just doing that. And I know that there is, her name is Corinne, and when we talk about doctors having to examine someone, the court forced her to drive her car down like a bunch of roads and on the interstate or, you know, a busy highway to go get the test. And of course, they deemed her incapacitated.
Yes,
it's crazy.
Mm-hmm. It's ridiculous. So in Linda's case, Robert Slutsky, who petitioned on behalf of Montgomery County's Aging and Adult Services, he petitioned the courts in December of 2013. By January of 2014, so pretty much a month later, Linda was already removed from her home so that it could be put up for sale to generate more liquid assets that could be depleted through the billing of Linda's estate by guardians and attorneys. So in 1 month time, they ripped her out of her house and they moved her in.
I can only imagine how devastating that was for her. Like, did the police come in and just rip her out of her house like she's a common criminal?
Yeah, that part didn't make the records, but that's what happened with Mary Bush's mom. So it wouldn't surprise me. It's got to be a very scary situation.
Yes.
And I think then if you resist, wouldn't they would come in and take you anyway against your wishes?
Absolutely.
So can you imagine that?
I know, it's horrible. And
yes.
Yeah. Okay, the next one. Do the guardians of the estate have to submit comprehensive financial reports to the courts to prove the ward's assets are being utilized appropriately? So here's some court records from Kalpana Doshi. She was called the skilled financial professional by Robert Slutsky in the petition, because Robert Slutsky said, "Oh, I recommend that Kalpana Doshi be the guardian because she's going to hire me later, and then I can make money off of this person's estate too." So in his petition, he called Kalpana Doshi a skilled financial professional. So here it says real estate. The estimated value is $217,000 of real estate. But then the subtotal for real estate is zero. It's not 217,000, it's zero. So, and she owned her house outright. So I guess she was just thinking in the future. She was thinking to myself, well, soon it's going to be zero because I'm going to charge a lot of service fees, and then it'll be zero. Then we have under the personal property here, she's got some bank accounts. And here it says 3,000 approximately, 2,000 approximately. And then it has a Mellon bank, and she gives a number that supposedly is legitimate. So then when she adds everything up, she calls it approximately, because these are just approximate numbers here, because she's a skilled financial professional, and it's okay to just put approximate numbers in what people's estates are worth. And if you notice,
would the IRS let us do that when we file our taxes? Well, I approximately made this much money.
Yeah, I think
like it.
Good.
Yeah.
And apparently, if you notice in this report, did this person have jewelry? Did this person have, a car? Where's all that stuff? So none of that stuff is listed. So, I mean, imagine what you have in your house that might be worth something. Like even your old dresser that you have, you could probably get $10 for it, but none of this stuff is calculated in. It's just the paper money. So subsequently, every year they're supposed to give an annual report. So in this one, it says, my initial inventory was filed on 6/4/2014 and listed a total estate value of $224,125.31. So this is the value that was supposedly approximate in the previous year when she had the accounting. So now it's turned from approximate to a true value in her second year of accounting. And then she's making $956 a month for Social Security. And apparently, this is the value, and it didn't include any of her material items, no jewelry, no computer, no cars, no nothing. And it was just an approximate value. Now at the end of that, Kalpani Dushi said, I certify under penalties of perjury that the information contained in this report is true and correct to the best of my knowledge, information, and belief. Well, the previous year, if she said it was an approximate, and then the following year she puts it down like it's a real value, I think that she perjured herself. I think the FBI should investigate her too.
Yes.
All right, the next question is there any oversight in the amount court-appointed guardians charge to an incapacitated person's estate? So in this case, Lonnie Cates is the guardian, the financial guardian, and Deborah Clock of DLK Managed Care Solutions is the court-appointed guardian of the person. So, you know, in Montgomery County, if you have a lot of money, you're going to have a lot of different types of guardians that can charge your estate. You're going to have the guardian of the person plus the guardian of the estate. So both of them will be charging your estate. And if they want to hire attorneys for themselves to represent them, they will also be charging your estate. So in this case, Lonnie Cates petitions the court requesting that Ann pay $3,400 for custom hearing aids. So in the report, he has right here that DLK Managed Care Solutions got a hearing aid reimbursement of $3,400. What do you think the chances are that a hearing aid would be exactly $3,400? Wouldn't you think it'd be like $3,393.54 or something like that? But instead, when it's DLK Managed Care Solutions, it's $3,400 exactly. And can you imagine that if you went on a business trip and you submitted your receipts to your business, your company, to get reimbursed? Can you imagine if you didn't have receipts to go with that? Where's the receipt? There's no receipt evident in the court records that shows that the hearing aid actually cost $3,400. There's no receipt. So to me, I just wondered, did Deborah Clock just pocket $3,400? Because she was the guardian of my uncle and Cosmos's uncle. And Cosmos, what did she do with Uncle Harvey's hearing aids? Didn't she take it to him?
Yeah. No, she made sure that he didn't have them. He didn't have his teeth. He didn't have his glasses. But, and we have the court records to prove this, according to Diane Zabowski, Deb Clock was more concerned with the more important things in life than hearing aids, glasses, and teeth.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they never even, hearing aids aren't important. And we have the court records to prove that.
Yeah.
They're not important.
Yeah, so the fact that she ordered some is like, in my opinion, she pocketed $3,400 because she certainly didn't care if our uncle had hearing aids or didn't have hearing aids. And she certainly didn't care if he was chemically restrained on Haldol. It's a whole story. We'll have a video about that later. So in this case, do court-appointed guardians always have the best interest of their wards? So this is Kalpana Dushi again, and this is Nancy talking again. Nancy, it's very questionable whether she's incapacitated since the residence place only petitioned to have her deemed incapacitated for 2 reasons. And one of them wasn't that she was incapacitated. One was that she owed them money and that she kept going to her house to try to fix it up. So in this case, she says, Nancy's talking about could she get everything out of her house when she was driving there. And she said, I couldn't get everything I needed. I still don't have my winter coat. So Kalpana Dushi has not made any arrangements to give an 84-year-old woman a winter coat, and it's February in Pennsylvania. I think it's pretty cold in Pennsylvania in February. And here,
Got it
a
in.
84-year-old woman doesn't even have a coat. So I would say no, she didn't have the best interest of her ward in that case. Okay, here's another example. This is actually our Uncle Harvey. This is from the court records, and it just shows right here in the court records that he was being chemically restrained on Haldol, and he was being given a total of 5 milligrams a day, which is definitely outside. First of all, he shouldn't be getting Haldol in the first place because you're not supposed to be giving it to older people. Marsha, do you have comments about Haldol since you're a little more of an expert on this?
Well, I've got it in the records, and Haldol is not supposed to be given to older people, but it's actually an antipsychotic drug for schizophrenia to control motor and verbal tics, as in Tourette's syndrome. Did your uncle have any of those?
Nope.
See, so no, there was no reason to give him Haldol, and it is dangerous. It is not approved for use with older adults because of increased chances of death.
And does it say anything about dosage? Because he was being given 5 milligrams a day.
Okay, it says the usual dosage, 2.5 to 5 milligrams. So yes, that is, but that is the maximum what he was being given. But I would imagine that he was given something other than just Haldol, correct?
Oh yeah, he's got a lot of stuff in here.
Right. So you add that on top of everything else that he's given, and you're going to multiply what the bad effects are.
Yeah. His caregiver said that every once in a while he would spit out his pills when after the nurse came to give it to him, and she would always smile and think to herself, good, today we're going to have a good day. Because he
See, it's just cruel.
Yeah,
it's absolutely cruel that they're giving it to him. And your uncle obviously knew that something was going on that was not a good sign. And he had, you know, nobody there to protect him from what they were doing to him.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah. It's heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm. All right, next is, can creating power of attorney documents save citizens from guardianship abuse in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania? So here's from a deposition. It says, Frank acknowledges that his sister Kimberly was his mother's chosen power of attorney. And then so there's 5 kids in this case. All 5 of them were acknowledged that Kimberly was supposed to be power of attorney, and no one denied this. So in the end, Kimberly was not made the guardian, even though you would think if the mother wanted her to be power of attorney, she should be guardian. Plus, this Marie, her name was Marie. Marie had a nurse as a son, an accountant as a daughter, and then Kimberly was the one who was chosen to be the power of attorney. So her children were well equipped educationally to take care of her and make decisions for her, but not in Montgomery County.
And let's not forget that Marie's husband was an attorney in Montgomery County and most likely wrote up all these documents as an attorney. He passed away before she did. I mean,
exactly. He was an estate attorney. So you know her paperwork was in good shape. So
yes.
Instead of upholding Marie's power of attorney paperwork, Judge Stanley Ott appointed a total stranger, Deborah Clock of DLK Managed Care Solutions, as Marie's guardian. Deborah Clock bills Marie outrageous amounts of money for her services, in my opinion, which are forcefully paid by Marie through orders signed by Judge Stanley Ott. So here's one order, $3,500, almost $1,000, $780. Look at this bill, $13,000. Almost $2,000, $1,000, almost $2,000, $2,500. I mean, it's ridiculous how much money was built from Marie to be a guardian when her children could have easily made decisions for her mother that would have been really in her mother's best interest.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Okay, the next question, can implementing a trust protect a person from being a financial victim of guardianship abuse? So here's a case where Judge Lois Murphy in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, revoked an elderly woman's revocable trust, which was supposed to have her daughter be trustee if she became incapacitated, not a court-appointed fee-based guardian. So right here, it says the revocable trust of Florence hereby terminated, and all funds held therein shall immediately be turned over to the plenary guardian of the estate of Florence. So your trust paperwork doesn't seem to matter in Montgomery County, nor does your power of attorney paperwork, because especially for the power of attorney paperwork, we just showed one instance of it, but we know a lot of people who are victims of the Montgomery County courthouse, and a lot of people have power of attorney paperwork that gets ignored in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania.
Absolutely.
So let's see, can creating power of attorney documents save citizen guardianship abuse in Montgomery County? Now, I don't know if the statutes have changed. I know that they want to change the statutes, but I know at the time when Marie and other people that we know had their powers of attorneys ignored, from Pennsylvania statutes, Title 20, Chapter 55, the need for a guardian is supposed to be evaluated based on the existence of powers of attorneys and trusts. It's right there in the statute. But apparently in Montgomery County, that does not happen. And that's it. So that presentation, thank you, Shenanigans of the Montgomery County, Pennsylvania Courthouse. Hopefully the cockroaches are scrambling as they are exposed in this presentation.
I love it. I think, yeah, everyone should check that Facebook page out and see there's a lot more documents there.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So,
the other thing is, this is all over. This is not just in Pennsylvania. People are being guardianized throughout the country, in the United States, in Switzerland, in Australia. It is happening everywhere.
exactly.
And it's money.
I
It's
would
about
recommend,
money.
it is, and I would recommend, if you want to read the stories, just a handful of them all over the country, you would go to stopguardianshipabuse.org, and that's the National Association to Stop Guardianship Abuse, and we are liaisons for that organization. It is the top organization that is really shining the light on the issues, and it's the reason why I met Marty is because of NASGA. And NASGA is just been doing a great job exposing it. There are things that we learned, like the Guardian Handbook was up at the NASGA website that we were able to look at and to see what their next steps were going to be. It's been very informative. And I know it has been for a lot of people, but unfortunately we just don't seem to be winning this battle. So thank you everyone who is listening to our panel and educating themselves about guardianship abuse.
Mm-hmm. All right, I guess I'm going to move on. And Marsha, I'm going to put up your document next.
Okay.
And you can talk about it. Can you see it?
I can see it.
Is it big?
Yeah.
Can you see it well? Or do I need to make it bigger?
You can make it bigger, but just so that people can see it, I can talk to it.
Oh,
This
is that? Oh, is
it's
that
all white.
Is that bigger?
No.
Okay.
No, that's
No.
disappeared.
Gone.
It's gone?
Yes.
Yeah, it's just all white.
Oh, what happened? Can you see it yet?
No.
Shoot. Let me stop share and try to reshare.
Okay.
Can you see it?
No.
Oh, no.
I see 4 right now.
Okay, so you do see, oh. You see 2 now? Can you
I
see it
see
now?
0.
I see a white
No.
screen.
Yeah.
Okay. I should have not touched it before.
And I love that everyone watching our panel are impressed with our technology.
Yeah.
Technical
We're excited
skills.
to be back there next year. We hope to be there live and in person.
Yeah. This is my first time to host a Zoom, so bear with me. Let me try share again.
New to all of us.
We're giving comedy relief right now.
Yeah. Can you see it now?
Negative.
No.
What happened? How do I? Oh, how about now?
Yes.
Yes, I keep it right there.
All right, I'm not touching it again.
Perfect. Perfect. Perfect.
All right.
Yep.
Okay.
If someone's on a computer screen, they'll do good.
The show that I do on TS Radio is Betrayed by Hospice. And it's to discuss what hospice has become. In 1967, Dr. Cicely Saunders in London was treating terminally ill patients, and she wanted to do something good. So she created a facility that the terminally ill could go to die and not experience as much pain, which was good. That was for people that had incurable diseases that couldn't be treated any longer. But today, that's been watered down to people that can successfully be treated with medications. They accept them into hospice. Or if you go to the hospital 2 or 3 times, it's known as a frequent flyer within a 6-month period. Then they can come to you. Hospice comes in and says, we are here to help. Anytime you hear those words, don't listen. Hospice is very good at flowery words and telling you what they think you want to hear. We can come help. We can cook meals for you. We can bathe the patient, sit with you while you go out to the doctor's office. They tell this to the care provider, or we can come in and do some light housework. It's a lie, and they'll tell you they won't hasten your person's death, but they do. They call it hospice care, comfort care, which often involves sedating the patient to unconsciousness to prevent them from experiencing the pain of thirst and hunger as they die of dehydration. And as you hear so often said, follow the money, it is the government saving money, greedy people making money, and our loved ones are paying the ultimate price, which is their life. There is an aggregate cap for hospice, and this year it's $29,964.78. What that is that equates to the number of patients that the facility has times that number. So if they have 10 people there and somebody lives 10 days or 2 months or 8 months or 10 months, it doesn't matter as long as the number of patients times the $29,964.78 does not go over. They get that money. It is a lucrative business, which I'll explain that to you later. So who is eligible? And I'd like for you to look it up if you want to. It's at vitus.com. And it talks about if you have 6 months or less to live, and how can anybody determine that? They're not God. Or if you have declining functional status, or dependence in 3 of 6 activities of daily living. And daily living tasks are considered eating, dressing, getting into or out of bed, or into or out of a chair, taking a bath or a shower, and using the toilet. So if you meet 2 or 3 of those, then they determine that you need to go into hospice. If you're incontinent, you can't dress yourself, you can't feed yourself, you need assistance, then they can come to you and suggest that hospice might be a good position for you to be in. Or if you have a decrease in tolerance to physical activity, or a decrease in cognitive ability, or any other comorbid conditions. And as Mary and Coz were talking about earlier, with when they request those tests, they do the test on you. If you don't answer them the way that they want them to be answered, then they can determine that you have decrease in your cognitive ability. So the comfort kit that many people hear about, and it can be brought to your home, or it can be in the hospice facility, or even in a hospital or a nursing home. And often the drugs in that kit are morphine, which is also called Roxanol, and it changes how your body responds to pain. Now, some of the side effects are that, and I'll kind of go back over them, but are drowsiness, dizziness, nausea, vomiting, constipation, agitation, confusion, hallucination, stomach pain, and difficulty urinating. And these are symptoms that your loved one might have for the drugs that you're giving them. And remember, this is not a person who's actively dying. This is someone they've determined that needs to have hospice care. So they're in there and you're giving them drugs that are creating these issues. The signs of an overdose: slow, shallow breathing, slow heartbeat, or coma. And the reason that I mentioned this is because hospice will tell people morphine helps you breathe. You don't want your loved one to suffer. You don't want them to have a hard time breathing. This will help them breathe. We're only giving them a small amount, something you would give a child with a broken arm. It's just a little bit. It'll help. Again, it slows the breathing down. It causes the heartbeat to slow down, and it can cause a coma. And older adults are more sensitive to the side effects, and there's a warning on it. Do not use, if you're using other opioid pain relievers, drugs for sleep or anxiety, such as Ativan, which another name for that is lorazepam. So the next drug on our list here that is given typically is Ativan, the same thing as lorazepam. And they give it to the patient to manage their anxiety disorder, insomnia, panic attacks, or alcohol withdrawal. So now you have a person who you're given, an older person, you're giving the morphine to them. Now you're adding on Ativan, and Ativan side effects are drowsiness, dizziness, muscle weakness, headache, blurred vision, insomnia, amnesia, depressed breathing, vomiting, skin rash, and constipation. And if you'll notice, some of the same symptoms as with morphine. So now you've doubled that. Some of the signs of an overdose are agitation, excessive drowsiness, anxiety. So something you're giving to prevent anxiety can actually cause anxiety and panic. Slurred speech, hallucinations, low blood pressure, profound slow breathing and heart rate, and coma. So the same symptoms that morphine can cause, Ativan can cause, and in most cases, they're giving them both. In my mother's case, they gave her both of those. The next one on the list is Haldol. It's an antipsychotic drug used for psychotic disorders like schizophrenia and Tourette's syndrome, which is what you were talking about, that your uncle was given that drug. Most people do not have schizophrenia or Tourette's, and yet this drug is given to them, which causes drowsiness, dizziness, headache, blurred vision, insomnia, skin rash, anxiety, restlessness, dry mouth, diarrhea, mood change, and difficulty urinating. There is a warning on it also that says it is not approved for use in older adults with dementia because of increased chances of death. Seroquel is the other one used. It is a psychotropic drug to treat schizophrenia again, major depression, and bipolar disorder. Side effects? You guessed it, they're about the same as the rest. Drowsiness, dizziness, headache, insomnia, dry mouth, constipation, vomiting, nausea, mood change, sore throat, Older adults with dementia may have increased risk of death. There's also a warning not to use Seroquel with other drugs. One of those is Ativan. And yet, they put these together and use them on elderly who are more susceptible to the side effects. In the hospice environment, they joke about it and they say it's a ham sandwich. And if the person is doing something they don't like or getting restless or saying something or not listening to their orders, they joke about giving them a ham sandwich, which is Haldol, Ativan, and morphine. And I don't know about you, but I don't consider any of it a joking matter at all. The other drug is fentanyl, which is also Duragesic. And you may have heard about that a couple of years ago when the police officers, if they touch the powder, they can actually go into cardiac arrest, and they've had to use Narcan to bring them out of that. It is 100 times more potent than morphine and 50 times more potent than heroin. It is the most potent opioid pain reliever available. And yet it is one of the drugs that they give to our elderly, which causes drowsiness, dizziness, confusion, constipation, weakness, unconsciousness, slowed respiration, nausea, stiff, rigid muscles, decreased heart rate, difficulty concentrating, and dry mouth. Some of the overdose signs: slow, shallow breathing, slow heartbeat, severe sleepiness, low blood pressure, cold and clammy skin, trouble walking or talking, unresponsive, and death. The risk is higher if you're older, and it has extreme caution when using with Ativan. And I will tell you that my mom was on morphine, Ativan, and fentanyl at the same time. And she did have severe reactions from the drugs per the medical records. And that's acceptable, because if you are in hospice, it doesn't matter what drugs they give you. It doesn't matter that you're going to die, because the entire purpose is to hasten your death. There's a cyclopamine transdermal patch that they use that's to prevent nausea that, by the way, they caused. And it also causes drowsiness, dizziness, constipation, dry mouth. And overdose signs: confusion, agitation, difficulty urinating, fast, irregular heartbeat, trouble breathing. And there's also a warning about taking this with any other drugs, opioids, that will cause the same type issues with drowsiness. So these are the drugs that you give to an elder person who has been brought in under many times false pretenses, and you give them these drugs and they become unconscious. They can't talk to their loved ones. They can't say the things they want to say. Their loved ones are sitting there asking why, when my loved one came in 2 days ago, 3 days ago, they were sitting up, talking, eating. Now they can't eat, they can't talk, they can't think, they're sleeping, they're moaning. So if they moan, they give them more drugs because they convince the family that they're in pain. They could be hallucinating. They could be in pain from all of the drugs that you're giving them. But the point is that once you give them these drugs, they can no longer be a part of their family's life. You are hastening their death. They go into a coma. They can't eat. They can't drink. They will die from dehydration and starvation and the drugs, and you keep giving them more drugs. This is humane. I just don't understand how in the world we ever got to the point that we believe that it's okay to euthanize our elderly because they're elderly, because they might cost money, because it's cheaper to euthanize them than it is to let them live their life out and write their last chapter. Now, the families sit by and see this. Most of them have absolutely no clue what's going on. I can attest to the fact that we did not know what was going on. So we're in like this panic state ourselves, trying to save them, while hospice continues to lie If you try to take them to a hospital, they will talk you out of it. If you ask why this is going on, they will give you a booklet and tell you that your loved one is dying. Well, they are dying, but they're dying because of the drugs, because as you've seen, all of these drugs cause ultimately death. And if you put them together and you gave them to a strong, young, healthy person, the same amount, the duration, and the combination, that person would die too, and not because they were dying of the drugs. We have an additional problem now with the nursing homes and the COVID-19 deaths. They account for 40% of the deaths. 40,600 residents have been reported as having died from this virus, which is approximately 450 residents each day since March. It was known when they sent the COVID positive patients to these nursing facilities that there was a good chance that some of the people there could get that and that the elderly are more susceptible. So was that coincidence, or is this just another way to call the elderly, just like in the Holocaust, and to get rid of our elderly people? In the Holocaust, they are called useless feeders, and they're not viable to society. Here in the United States and in Australia and other countries, they are doing the same thing. They have determined they cost more money to keep them alive than to treat them. So we'll just get rid of them the quickest way possible. Now, during this COVID in the nursing homes, the families are not allowed to see their loved ones, even if they're on the outside. Some people have been able to go in. So you can't find out how your person feels, what they're doing to them. You don't know if they're drugging them. And hospice graciously offered their services to come in and help at the nursing homes with the COVID patients. I suspect that if you did a toxicology report on a lot of these people, you will find they have some of the drugs that I mentioned before of higher quantities in their system. I just believe that that is the case, and nobody's looking, nobody's checking, nobody's advocating, and nobody's protecting. So people have asked, well, then why don't you report it? Why don't you go to the police? We have. People have gone to the police. People have gone to attorneys. People have gone to various government officials trying to seek assistance in getting some type of justice for their loved one being euthanized. And not because they're trying to make money off of it, but because they want justice. Their loved one was murdered. If you were driving down the road and somebody hijacked your car or banged on your front door and came in and shot you, then that would be considered murder. But when they do this in a period of 3 to 10 days, slowly killing you, a horrible, painful death, it's not considered homicide. No, to me, it is premeditated, cold-blooded murder. That's what it is, but they don't research that. So one of the cases that you might have heard about is Bradley Harris. He was a CEO at Novus in Frisco, Texas. From July of 2012 through September of 2015, he billed Medicare and Medicaid more than $60 million for fraudulent services, hospice services. Patients that were not eligible for hospice, but were certified and sent to him by medical staff whom he paid, were sent to his facility and their lives were ended prematurely. Nurses gave high doses of morphine, whether the patient needed it or not, to justify higher payments. Harris told nurses in text messages that they have to find me someone and make them go bye-bye. And he issued notices to nurses to eliminate patients who had been in the facility too long. There was one such nurse, Nurse Love, if you can believe that, who gave orders to other nurses to turn off the oxygen and increase Ativan and morphine and turn the patient on their left side to hasten their death. The facility was shut down in late 2015, but too late to save those that had been murdered for profit. In 2019, Dr. William Hussle in Columbus, Ohio at Mount Carmel Health System was charged with killing 25 patients with huge overdoses of fentanyl. The amount was 5 to 20 times higher than a recommended dose. He pled not guilty, saying he was helping his patients. This year, sometime in this year, his case goes to trial. So there are books, because a lot of people will say this doesn't happen, you know, your loved one died, you're just grieving, you're trying to find somebody to blame. That is not the case. I belong to a Facebook group called Murdered by Hospice. And those people say the same things that I say. They heard the same words told to them by the nurses about their loved one. It's not coincidence. It is murder, and it is happening in front of us. It is called stealth euthanasia, and that Healthcare Tyranny in America is a book that Ron Panzer, who is the founder of Hospice Patients Alliance, wrote. That book is available if you go to hospicepatients.org, and you can download the book and read for yourself the history, how we got here, and what's been going on for years. There's another book that just came out in 2019 called Killing for Profit, The Dark Side of Hospice by Michelle Young Dewars. She was a hospice respiratory therapist, and she talks about the quota for them to have more patients, to bring in more patients to hospice to enroll them. If they're in a hospital, the hospital doesn't want the death per se on their hands, so it's better if they go to a hospice facility and die there. They get credit for the death. It's a horrible thought, but that is what is happening. If a person goes to the hospital for a broken bone, for COPD, for any reason, several times, as I said earlier, they're called frequent flyers, and that goes against the hospital. So that's when hospice people will come in and convince you to become a hospice patient. Her book is amazing, and it has a lot of stories in there that you can read about some other hospice betrayals. Another book, The Morphine Genocide, How the Fed-Med Mafia Kills Our Elderly with Palliative Care by M.S. King. I encourage you to check out any of these books. They have an amazing amount of information, and it tells the truth that a lot of people don't want you to know, but it might save your life one day. There's also a Facebook group that's called Murdered by Hospice that you can look into. Another Facebook group that is called Voices for Seniors that has a lot of the patients in there that were murdered recently with the COVID in the nursing homes. That is a brand new website, and it has gotten Facebook has gotten a lot of attention. On the slide now that Mary has, there are helpful websites that you can go to. One of the ones, obviously, is the Blog Talk Radio with Marti Oakley. And she has programs that she runs almost on a daily basis, covering different topics. A lot of those are about the elderly and the abuse that is happening with the elderly under guardianship as well as under hospice. Hospice patients, I know you can't probably read that, but hospicepatients.org is another excellent site. Ron Panzer has created that site back in 1998. He was a nurse, and he was actually moved from his position because he told about what was going on, and he continues to warn people. HaloVoice.org is another excellent site. It talks about life-affirming healthcare. It gives alternatives to those who are facing this and shows you about writing a medical power of attorney to protect yourself as well as your loved ones. A lot of good information. LifeLegalDefenseFoundation.org is an organization that has the ability to reach out to pro-life attorneys in most, if not all, of the states. and you can contact them and they'll give you the information where you can get a pro-life attorney to perhaps help you to get your loved one out of a bad situation in hospice or in the hospital. There are numerous ones here. Foundation Aiding the Elderly. There is a law in Texas. It's called the Texas Right for Life 10-day law. And in that case, if you're there for 10 days, they can determine they're not going to do dialysis anymore, and you are going to be released from that hospital in 10 days. Even if dialysis would keep you alive, they make a determination that it's not worth it. So I don't know about you, but I don't want somebody to make a determination that my life is not worth it. There's National Right to Life website, and under that, actually for every state, there is another facility that is a right to life for Georgia, for California, Arizona. So those are also very good websites for you to go and look at. And I think the bottom thing for me is education is key. And if you don't have the knowledge and you don't have the education and you're not looking for it, then you too can become a victim. So it's very important to know what is going on and not just trust what you're told by the medical profession. So, and again, we would love to have any of you come on Marti Oakley's Blog Talk Radio and listen to our shows. And if you have comments or if you decide you want to come on the show for a reason, then you can also contact us. So I think that covers it on my slides, Mary.
Thank you. And I think our hour is up. So I think we had pretty good timing for our talk.
Great.
Do we have our closing video?
We can.
Yes.
Just go a little over, but I guess they can cut it out, right? If they want to.
Yeah.
So this is our closing video.
In closing.
Yep, a video.
Charmaine.
Yeah, it's all about Charmaine and her mom.
Charmaine Sword. Yep, she wrote this song for her mother. Her mother was put in a guardianship, and this is such a beautiful song. She gave us permission to do a tribute to Harvey with it. Harvey was a Korean War veteran, and let's see how the United States government treated him.
Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna hit stop recording once the Uncle Harvey video is over.
Okay, good.
Thank you, Mary.
Bye, everyone, and thank you, Marty. And thank you, Marty, for having us.
Thank you, Marty.
Thank you, Marty.
You guys did a great job on this.
Thank you.
Yep.
I've been lying, thinking about the day we met, the day forever was set, and how much time we've got left. I find myself crying, my eyes out, gotta make you believe in me. Without one doubt, I'm gonna make the past my last regret. Because regrets from my past are too hard to forget. It doesn't matter who's right or wrong. Tomorrow's a brand new sunset. I'm gonna make the past my last regret. I'm gonna get in the morning and pray. Thank God just for today. If my debts I have to pay, I find myself wanting to forgive. Take my medicine every day and learn to live. because regret from my past are too hard to forget. Doesn't matter who's right or wrong. Tomorrow's a brand new sunset. I'm gonna make it past my past regret. No, there's nothing that I can do to repair the trouble that I've given you. Oh, it hurts me to look back. Believe me, it hurts me worse than it hurts you. I'm gonna make the past my last regret. Because regret from my past are too hard to forget. Doesn't matter who's right or wrong. Tomorrow's a brand new sunset. I'm gonna make it past my past regret. I'm gonna make it past my last regret.
What if I told you that there was someone who prophesied in the early 19th